"You're the father," she insisted. But the words hit me like a cold wave because they couldn't possibly be true. We hadn't shared a bed in almost 8 months. I stared at Rachel's trembling hands resting on the curve of her pregnant belly, searching for anger inside myself. Instead, all I found was confusion and a quiet fear that there was a truth neither of us understood. In that single moment, the life I had carefully rebuilt in a quiet neighborhood outside Nashville, Tennessee, seemed ready to collapse. Before we continue, if you believe kindness can heal broken hearts, forgiveness can rebuild families, and hope deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who believes in compassion. Leave a comment about what forgiveness means to you, and subscribe for more emotional stories that remind us how powerful love and grace can be. My name is Nathan, and for nearly 12 years, Rachel had been my best friend before she became my wife. We had weathered job losses, family illnesses, and countless ordinary storms that every marriage eventually faces. But the previous year had changed everything. After my father suffered a stroke, I moved into his farmhouse nearly an hour away to help care for him while Rachel stayed at our home because of her nursing position at the local hospital. We still saw each other every weekend, hugged goodbye every Sunday evening, and promised that life would return to normal once my father recovered. Those months were lonely, exhausting, and filled with quiet sacrifices neither of us ever complained about. Then my father passed peacefully one autumn morning. Grief settled over me like heavy rain, and instead of bringing Rachel and me closer, it created a silence neither of us knew how to cross. We loved each other, but pain made us strangers. Counseling appointments were postponed. Conversations became shorter. We occupied the same house but lived inside different worlds. That was why seeing Rachel pregnant felt impossible to understand. Friends quietly drifted away, unsure whose side to take. Church members whispered prayers that sounded suspiciously like gossip. Even my older sister Grace urged me to prepare for divorce before I learned the whole story. Yet something inside me refused to hate Rachel. She looked frightened, not guilty. Whenever our eyes met, I saw someone carrying a burden far heavier than pregnancy alone. Days later, she handed me a small folder she had kept hidden in a kitchen drawer. Inside were medical records from a fertility clinic. Nearly a year earlier, before our lives became consumed by illness and grief, we had begun exploring fertility treatment after years of failed attempts to have children. We had completed several appointments, signed countless forms, and eventually frozen embryos created from both of us. Then my father's health collapsed, and we abandoned the entire process, believing nothing had moved forward. What neither of us realized was that a terrible administrative error had unfolded months later. The clinic had mistakenly contacted Rachel about a scheduled embryo transfer using paperwork that should never have remained active. Confused, overwhelmed, and believing I had already confirmed everything during my father's medical emergencies, she trusted the clinic's explanation that I had handled the remaining consent forms electronically. She had been emotionally exhausted, barely sleeping, and desperately hoping that perhaps one beautiful thing could finally happen after so much heartbreak. She never imagined a mistake had occurred. When the clinic launched an internal investigation, every document revealed the painful truth. The embryo was ours all along. I truly was the father. The relief should have erased every wound, but healing rarely happens that quickly. I had spent weeks questioning the woman I loved. Rachel had carried unbearable loneliness, believing no one would believe her. The clinic accepted responsibility and offered financial compensation, but money could never repay months of fear, suspicion, and broken trust. Instead of allowing bitterness to define us, we chose something harder. We returned to counseling. We learned to speak honestly about grief instead of burying it beneath silence. We forgave each other for assumptions neither of us intended to make. Slowly, laughter returned to our kitchen. Weekend breakfasts became daily routines again. The empty rooms that once echoed with sorrow began filling with baby furniture, painted walls, and quiet anticipation. On a snowy December evening, our son Caleb entered the world with a loud cry that instantly erased years of disappointment. As I held him against my chest, I realized fatherhood had begun long before his birth. It had begun the day I chose compassion over anger, patience over judgment, and faith over fear. Rachel smiled through exhausted tears, and for the first time in a long while, our future felt brighter than our past. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please support the channel by liking the video, sharing it with someone who may need encouragement today, and subscribing so more people can discover stories filled with hope and healing. Before this story ends, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment and tell us, do you believe trust can be rebuilt after life turns everything upside down? Your words might encourage someone quietly facing a difficult season. Life rarely follows the plans we carefully write for ourselves. Sometimes misunderstandings grow where love once stood, and sometimes the truth arrives only after tears have already fallen. But when people choose grace instead of pride, honesty instead of fear, and forgiveness instead of resentment, even the deepest fractures can become the strongest foundations. Nathan and Rachel never forgot the months that nearly separated them forever, but they also never forgot that hope often arrives disguised as one final chance to believe in each other. And in the gentle laughter of little Caleb growing up inside their Tennessee home, they found proof that love is strongest when it refuses to give up.